That's Haley.
And they're Gray. And this
This is
is
the
the Bond bringing you Pied Piper
Podcasting.
Podcasting. Today we're covering
Whoa.
Chapter 3 of the Vigilante Midoriya-fic Pied Piper. That's
Who knows
crazy.
that guy?
That's
Do y'all know that guy?
Oh,
We
wait,
haven't even got to like the name drop yet. Like, when are we gonna get like to title reference?
Crazy. Okay.
What?
I had
The
to
green
turn off my
screen?
green
Because you're
screen.
silly.
There we go.
'Cause you're silly.
Now we're back to our regular setup. We haven't done Chapter 3 before. I feel like we made a gravity joke before, but I do make a lot of space references, so...
You make just so many space references
so
that that's the amount of
many.
jokes.
I make so many. Gravity, whoa, that's crazy.
Gravity.
Gravity.
Chapter 3. Gravity. I'm so excited for social media. I love them.
We love social media. We love social media. I know the social media part, like, was inspired by someone else, but I'm surprised it's this early on into the fic.
Because you're silly.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. The next day brings with it the weekend. A small blessing that grants him time to gather his thoughts. The 15-year-old isn't sure where to start. The whole idea is still feeling like a dream itself. I'm going to save people, he thinks. Amy's face flashing in his mind. But to do so, I'll have to break the law.
He's so edgy.
Oh my god. Ugh, I can't
He's so
believe I
cool.
wrote some of this stuff, dog. Dear God.
I can.
We had
You're
to start
cringe.
somewhere. We had to shut your mouth forever. We had to
You're
start
free.
We're cringe, but I'm cringe, but I'm free. Okay. Midoriya tries not to think about that aspect too much just yet, worried he'd end up scaring himself away from what he needed to do. So, instead he pulls out a notebook and makes a list of the things he'd need and labels it hero supplies. He'd need a weapon, and a disguise, and a local map of hero activity would be necessary. Would be a necessity. The boy is sure he'd be able to find some information on the hero forms he frequented, but he doubted he'd get a hold of the intel he'd need until he found himself walking the streets and experiencing the patterns for himself. The 15-year-old spends hours in his room thinking over the logistics of him being a vigilante before he gets sidetracked with costume design and vigilante hero names.
Hero names.
Hero names.
Yeah, hero names.
Hero names, you know.
Anything else?
Who said that? The costume is, of course, impossible with his current resources. Much of his past allowance had gone to hero merch, and what was left wasn't nearly enough to pay for the sketches in his notebook. Not to mention that anyone he got to make it for him would be dragged into his vigilante scheme, seeing as they too would
Sure,
be
this
breaking...
isn't like a foreshadowing of anything.
I'm
sure it's not foreshadowing anything.
No, I would never.
No, I'm sure
anything.
It's not foreshadowing anything.
I never foreshadowed anything.
Did you even know what foreshadowing was back then?
Yeah, maybe. No. Yes. I was in a creative writing class, probably.
Okay, but you still couldn't spell, so like, really, what does that do for you?
I still can't spell. What do you mean? I don't know what foreshadowing.
You still can't. So, like, really, what's that doing for you? What is all this? What? Let's see.
It's like when your shadow is in front of you.
All 2,991 words,
right?
Short of 300,000 words do for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would use 300K as a reference if you'd hit it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll never live that down. I'll never live down not hitting.
No, I'm gonna include that every time it's like possible to include it. So.
I mean, maybe if you add up the like sequel short story, like maybe that hits 300K. I don't know. Probably not.
It's 307K. Well, there's multiple short sequels.
No. Red Sun one, I think. It's like the latest one.
Story of a Sun?
Yeah. Untold Story of a Sun.
That's only 1,000. Yeah, the closest one is Pied Piper AU Oculation.
Yeah, no, that's just like what was supposed to happen before I got smart, I guess.
XD? We got smart. I don't think that
Yeah.
happened, actually.
Oh, before I stole the brain cell. How's that? Not to mention that
Anyways.
anyone he got to make it for him would be dragged into his vigilante scheme, seeing as they too would be breaking several major laws. It's already 1 by the time he emerges from his room, looking only a little better than a corpse. Inko is gone when he comes out for an extremely late breakfast. There's a note for him on the counter telling him that she'll be back around 5 and to not forget to eat. It's unusual for her not to say anything to him directly before leaving, so he figures that at some point she must have peeked into his room and decided to leave him be. There's a small seed of guilt that plants itself in his stomach, and at the thought of how much worry and stress he'd put the woman through. And he realizes only then that she would be clueless to the meaning behind last night's breakdown. Break it down.
Break it down. What's down?
Whoa.
White boy
Busting it
style.
down.
Except he's not a white boy.
He obviously couldn't inform her of its significance, so he'd have to replace his revelation with something mom-friendly, if only to put an end to her fears. They don't speak? Hello? They don't speak much when she returns. Oh
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I saw one person use this as a metaphor, and like I just
Oh.
ran with it.
You ran with it?
I
Yeah,
ran with it.
that's kind of
Okay.
cringe.
A pregnant tension hanging over the two.
Hurry.
Oh god. Inko wants desperately to ask what last night had been about, but instead she holds her tongue. She makes Katsudan again and watches the boy carefully from across the table as he eats. Her eyes flicker from one point to another as if just looking at him for too long would leave him shattered again. He needs to say something that will stop her from worrying, both for her sake and his. So Izuku sets aside his chopsticks, lets out a shaky sigh, and says what he'd been thinking about since he'd seen her note. Says what he's known since he received his rejection letter. I'm going to apply for UA's general education course. The words hurt, but Midoriya knows that no matter how much it pains him, he'd never been willing to let go of UA. Even though it feels like he's giving in, even though it feels like a dismissal of his dreams, even though it feels like he's accepting his fate of being nothing more than quirkless. He can't let it go. He has to remind himself that despite what the voice in his head says, he's not accepting his fate. He's rewriting it. He's rewriting it.
He's rewriting
it. Defying it.
He's
I
rewriting
don't
it.
have to be a hero, Izuku thinks. I just have to save people. Midoriya watches his mother's eyes light up, watches the worry melt from the lines in her face. Those lines would only get deeper if I told you what I'm about to do. Cringe! I mean, who said that? The irony of what he's planning is lost on him. The idea that there'd be a vigilante who sat in the midst of Japan's top hero school never even crossing the boy's mind. Because in his head, there's an image of an older Izuku. He's dressed in black, and Midori can see the thin stripes of scars around the backs of his hands, and illuminated in the stippling of freckles across his cheeks. The man is bruised and battered, but he stands strong before him, proud and resilient and happy. It's the image of a man who's achieved his dreams. It's the image that Izuku will strive for, the picture of the person he wants to become. Inko doesn't know what to think of the determination that she watches solidify on her son's face, but it lessens her worry further, makes her hopeful for what's to come. There's still a melancholic expression that she sees pass across his face from time to time, but Inko prays that soon enough it too will disappear altogether. Whoa!
I
Talk
need you
about
to
those
know.
foreshadows.
I need you to know. As I've mentioned before, and as I'll mention again.
Yeah.
I hate that you call him Midoriya when in an interaction with his fucking mom, who's also Midoriya.
That's why I called
Did you
her
not ever
Inko.
have a thought about that?
No.
Ever?
No. Why would I ever? Because everyone in the
No,
show
why
calls
would
him
you?
Midoriya. It's like, oh yeah, Midoriya, Izuku.
In a discussion with his mother, who's also Midoriya? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Inko.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That is...
Inko.
Okay, he's
Thank you.
Izuku.
I don't care. Who said that? I mean, it's
Yeah.
Who said
No,
that?
yeah.
It's your turn. Popcorn.
No, speak your truth, queen.
No, that was my truth. Popcorn. I love popcorn.
r/Heroes of Musutafu. Posted by u/Ecoplasma. u/Ecoplasma 3 months ago. Where are the heroes? 248 upvotes. Okay, so I don't know if it's just my neighborhood, but I've been noticing that I haven't seen as many heroes around my apartment anymore. Over the last few years, the neighborhoods have gotten a lot rougher, and so there's been a lot of crime recently, but at the same time, the numbers of heroes have gone down? Question mark? You know?
Question mark. That was so fast.
I know, because we said this was going to be the fastest Pied Piper episode ever,
God.
right?
Yeah, ever. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. You think there'd be more crime with more heroes? You think with more crime there'd be more heroes, but it's the exact opposite around here. I was wondering if anyone else was experiencing something similar where they are, because it's gotten to the point where I'm kind of scared to go outside my apartment now. Trans Atsuhi. 26 points 2 months ago. As a reply. Well, I'll tell you right now, if you're looking for a place with lots of heroes, you want to go into the nicer, more populated parts of the city. The other thing heroes really care about is fame, money, and recognition. Sure, there might be a lot of work in what you call the rougher parts of the city, but but more work doesn't necessarily equate to fame and fortune. The richer parts of the city gets criminals with stronger, flashier quirks, since they think they can get away with more. And where the flashy criminals go, so do the attention-seeking apostrophes her hoes end apostrophe.
Here, come on, here.
Her hoes.
Here.
Hoes.
Here. There you go. So play on heroes. Come on.
No, her hoes.
No.
Sin_Lee, 5 points 2 months ago. In reply. The same problem in my neighborhood, Ecoplasma. It's gotten really bad in the past few weeks. Just in the last 2 days alone, I've heard about 5 people getting killed, all in different incidents, and I haven't seen not one hero patrolling the area. K, probably an _L. Undercase, K, undercase L, NG, Kuro, aka King Kuro. 38 points 2 months ago. Apostrophes, her hoes.
Say it right. I'm gonna end it.
WHEEZING.
Oh my god.
I'm not gonna get it right because I don't like it. I don't think that's witty.
Oh, I don't think you're funny.
But I am funny.
Nah.
With the next few days comes more nightmares. He should have realized that they wouldn't have simply gone away at the snap of his fingers. But he'd gotten his hopes up after the peaceful sleep he'd had the night before. Amy is being dragged out of the convenience store by her kidnapper, and he can only stand there, quietly watching as she disappears out the door. The image of her distressed face is burned into the backs of his eyelids. It's a look that doesn't belong on the face of a girl her age. In the dream, he can't help but think, it's probably just her uncle. And even though he knows it's not, even though he desperately wants to reach out and take her hand, his body won't do anything because, what if I'm wrong? What if it is just a friend of her father that she doesn't like? Officer Fujimori is there as well, replacing the cashier behind the register. He leans against the counter, he too watching as the girl is dragged away. He turns to stare at the boy with a smile that's more suited for Bakugo, and a voice matching the... Just thinking, so glad you said Bakugo and not his other name.
Thank God. Oh my god.
With a smile that's more suited for Bakugo, and a voice matching the caustic one in his head. What a shame, he surmises. If only you hadn't hesitated. To take his mind off the dream, he decides to continue planning his start as a vigilante. He's certain Chi-sensei would notice if any of the dojo's staffs went missing, and he'd be too worried that anything he bought could be traced back to him. So Izuku falls back on the pipe he used for training at Dagobah the last 3 years. It's not something he'd like to use for vigilante work, but it's something he's had a lot of experience handling, even if he'd never used it against any corporeal opponents. The pipe!
Whoa.
It's almost like he's, what is he, a Pied Piper?
No way! No way!
No way!
No way!
No way!
Oh my
I don't
god.
believe it.
I don't believe it.
No way. Like, no way.
No
There's just
way.
no way.
There's no way.
His disguise also comes up lacking, but for a middle schooler with little money, it's to be expected. He dons a pair of dark sweatpants and a black hoodie that he tucks his curls into. He pulls the pipe from the back of his closet and decides he'll sneak a white face mask from their small stash in the kitchen. In the end, the only thing he actually buys is a pair of red contacts. Okay, edgelord.
Oh my god. The baby Piper. The baby Piper disguise.
Baby
Baby.
Piper. Why is bro 14? 15 and still in middle school?
Yeah. We don't
Is
talk
that
about
like...
that. We don't talk about how I made him 15
okay.
in the fic because I couldn't stand him being 14 in a vigilante.
It's because you're weak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're weak.
Canonically, he's still 14, but like, because his birthday hasn't happened yet. But we don't talk about that.
Do you now? We're gonna talk about that.
No.
His disguise... Oh, nope, I already read that. Midoriya digs a pair of old knee and elbow pads from the back of his closet. He digs a pair. You're missing a word. He digs up a pair. Or digs out a pair.
He digs a pair.
Uh-huh. He digs a pair of old
he
knee
likes
and
it.
elbow
He, like,
pads
digs
from the
it,
back
you
of his
know?
closet and slips them on over his clothes. But other than those, his protection is non-existent. It's worrisome, but the more he thinks about it, he realizes that there's not much else he can do at this point. The items he'd need for his excursions wouldn't be available for civilian purchase, and even then he wouldn't have any money for it. He wouldn't have the money for it. My bad.
Oh, well. Yeah, you're bad.
Whoa. You're bad.
You're bad.
Your mom bad.
What?
She bad.
Nuh-uh.
No, I'm gonna stop this bit. Okay. Part of him wonders, as he pulls on the clothes, if it's too soon to be going out. It is. Yeah, it is. It'd only been 2 days since he decided to be a vigilante. Vigilante.
That's crazy.
And now he was going out to commit his first planned act of vigilantism. Vigilantism.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Tism. Oh my god.
Whoa. But despite the guilt on account of his mother and despite the fear on behalf of himself, something pushes him to continue. So Izuku listens for the quiet breathing of his mother before slinking out of his room and sliding the balcony's door open. Yeah, no, that checks out. The drop to the concrete below is daunting, but it's nothing he hasn't done before to get some extra training. Dagobah. To get some extra training, Dagobah.
To get some extra training.
So
Dagobah.
true.
Crazy.
Dagobah.
Crazy.
Midoriya drops the pipe down first, tossing it into a set of bushes nearby. Imagine if I'm just imagining he drops it. Tossing it down in a set of bushes nearby before hauling himself over the ledge and dropping down to hang from the sill. The concrete digs painfully into his palms before he lets go and drops down onto the ledge of the balcony just below theirs. Okay, weirdo. It's a precarious position, and he almost tips off into the ground below at one point before catching himself. Adrenaline rushes through him when he looks down. Still a good one-story drop to go. But unlike in his own apartment, he can still see a light on through the sliding window. Sliding door!
Because you're silly.
Pushing the rest of his body away from the wall with what leverage he can manage, and drops. Landing hurts, pain spiking up his legs when he hits, but he smooths out some of the impact with a roll. His palms throb from the concrete, and his feet and knees ache from where he'd taken a majority of the impact, but he knows from experience that it'll fade. He retrieves his pipe from the bushes and looks around. And now that he's here, now that he's ready, he has no idea what to do. He knows what he wants to do. He wants to save people, wants to bring criminals to justice. He wants to prove himself worthy. But is this really the right way to go about doing it? It's the only way, his mind whispers. Hey, popcorn! Pop, 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 pop.
But there are other ways to be a hero. He could be a police officer or a doctor. He could be a psychologist or a social worker. But that's not what you want. They'd never be enough for you. And it's right about that. Those things would never be able to give him what would never be able to give him what being a hero could, what being a vigilante will. They would never be able to give him the satisfaction, the elation of knowing that he directly saved the life of someone from a villain who'd been seeking to take it, to control it, abuse it. He'd slip the He'd sip the ambrosia. And now there was nothing else that'd be able to replace it. He's not sure what to do or where to go, but he's got to do something. So he sets off down the sidewalk. It's late, but there are still people decorating the streets, and as a result, he sticks to the shadows, ducking down alleys when he can, certain that his pipe would draw too many suspicious eyes. Though there are several times within the next 2 hours that he's forced to turn back upon encountering a dead end, he deems the lack of attention worth it. He listens for cries of help, but the closest he comes to hearing any is a few peals of shrieking laughter from a group of inebriated college students, and he's frustrated. Feels like Amy's situation had been a fluke, like now even fate wouldn't give him a chance to prove his worth. So he burrows further into the city, slicking down alley after alley until he's in a part of town he doesn't recognize. The streets he finds himself on remind him of the area he met Amy, dark and teeming with criminal activity, which, he figures, is exactly the part of town he wants to be in. It isn't long after that he runs across a mugger.
Mugger?
A mugger? She's got
I
a
thought you
man
said
held
mother
at
at first.
A mother?
Wow.
Yeah.
Gender
Oh my God.
equality. Women can also mug people.
Brother, exactly. That's what I was going for. Oh my God, I'm so glad.
Oh my God! I know what you were going for.
I'm so glad
Yeah,
you
I know.
knew. Binge test, here we go. She's got a man held at knife point, pressing him into the wall of the alley with her hand. Hey!
Mother.
Suku curses himself for the stutter as the woman's head whips around to glare at him. Hey, Gray.
The fuck you want?
Thank you. She waves her knife at him, trying to scare him off. Get out of here before I cut you up too. Her gaze drifts away from him and back toward the man she's mugging. He's scared, but he's 15 and about to play it. He's 15, but he's... Wait. Hello? He's scared, but he's 15 and about to play at being a vigilante, so he can't really say it's not expected. There's a woman with a knife, an unknown quirk, and a hostage. He thinks about leaving, about turning around and calling the police. He thinks about going home and sleeping and pretending he'd never thought of this whole vigilante idea in the first place. But his dream comes back to him. What a shame. If only you hadn't hesitated. He grits his teeth, the man's face mimicking that of Amy from his dreams. Izuku steals his resolve and sends his pipe slamming into the back of the woman's head.
Don't hesitate, bitch!
He almost feels guilty doing so. Deliberately aiming for the head with a weapon was a strictly forbidden tactic within any professional dojo. The head was the vital part of your body.
No way.
And injuries to it could be deadly if an attack was poorly executed. Or well executed, depending on the situation, he thinks briefly. If there was too much force or the impact was badly placed, it could result in serious damage. But for the safety of both himself and the man she'd been robbing, a swift end was necessary, especially when unknown quirks were factored in. The woman crumbles under the force of the blow, and Midoriya has to drop his pipe to catch her before she falls, gently setting her down on the alley's floor before he stands back up. Midoriya turns to the man, whose fearful stare is trained on him. Are you okay? Izuku asks, his voice muffled by the Are you okay? Izuku asks, his voice muffled by the mask. His heart is in his throat, and every time he thinks about what he's doing, it makes... And every time he tries to think about what he's doing,
What he doing?
What he doing? Every time he think about what he doing, it make a leap. It make a leap into his
What
mouth.
he doing? Me as fuck.
it'd make a leap into his mouth, cutting off any other words that he might say. The guy tries to stammer out a response, but in the end, nothing coherent comes out. Midoriya swallows his fear and speaks again instead. Do you have a cell phone on you? It's probably best if we call the cops. They'll be able to take care of her. He glances at the woman at his feet, her breathing soft and
I could
even,
take care of her.
face almost peaceful while unconscious. Before he can speak to the man further, he catches movement at the far end of the alley. Another woman comes around the corner, her flaming red hair giving off a soft glow. Mika, you done yet? She hasn't noticed them, too engrossed with the phone in her hands. She mutters a quiet curse as the passcode she puts in comes back incorrect. I need your quirk to open this phone. I'm usually good at guessing, but I've only got 3 tries left. There's a beat, where no one says anything. The only sounds, the distant rumbling of an overnight passenger train left to fill the silence. Okay, I was definitely already in a creative writing class. I was definitely there. I was definitely there, because there was a short story I wrote that involved like a train whistling in the distance, and I remember my creative writing teacher being like, "That's so good! That's so good!" Or at least like commenting on it, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so good!"
Oh my god, that's so good.
So if you ever hear trains anywhere in like any of my stories, that's probably why. She looks up, and the 3 of them are frozen in place like deer stranded in headlights, unable to look away from each other. She glances at the body laid at the boy's feet, eyes glued to her friend's unmoving form. Izuku hears the man behind him shuffle backwards, his movement acting as a catalyst that sets off an explosion of violence. The newcomer moves first, rushing at them.
What the fuck did you do to Mika? No, Minnie.
No, Minnie, but Minnie.
No, Minnie. She's on my lap now. Because she wants to be here.
Oh my god, our first Piper guest. Minnie!
Oh my god, Minnie's the first Piper guest. Do you have anything that you want to say? Besides purring? They can't really hear that, Minnie. Maybe you can hear a jingle. Or jingle jingle.
Jingle jingle?
Izuku steps forward, pushing the man further behind him with an arm and a silent run. A silent run? So does he say it or does he not?
No, he didn't say it. Look, just read the rest of the sentence. That makes
the silent run that flashes through the boy's red eyes when he glances back.
Yeah. It's like it's an expression. Like oh my god, run, dog. If I look at you wide-eyed, you're gonna run. Like, oh grandma.
Is it though?
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
Fuck, she's getting off the lap. Okay.
Goodbye,
everyone. Say bye, Manny.
Bye, Minnie.
The woman's hair flares brighter as she drops the phone and pulls a pocket knife from her jacket. Me? The jab is clumsy, inept enough to remind him of his first day sparring with the partner. But there's a sharp weapon in this hand, one that's coming towards him. And there's a moment where Izuku freezes up again, because this is an actual fight, and that's an actual knife. And it's his life and the man's life, and the man's behind him that he's defending. Then the knife is there, and he can only run off pure instinct. Her arm is coming in low, and at an angle, aiming for his gut. Okay.
Yeah.
Evil murder woman. We love to see it. He brings his right hand up to meet it, pushing her arm away to where he can wrap his left hand around her wrist. He twists it into a position where her elbow is forced to lock and turns his body parallel to hers, using the mugger's own momentum to redirect the knife past him. Then he brings his elbow down.
Oh no, not his elbow.
Then he brings his elbow down.
God.
Not his. His elbow down. Midoriya can hear the woman's cry of pain. You can't think of the woman's.
Oh god.
The woman's. Midoriya can hear the woman's cry of pain when he drives his elbow into her locked one. Can hear the bone cracking, the knife clattering to the pavement. When she drops to her knees.
I know I wrote it, but
He can hear his own heavy breathing, can hear the man's frantic voice behind him, can hear the sound of the same passenger train roaring in the distance. Damn. Long-ass train.
Oh,
And
it's very
he can
quick.
feel it. Can feel her elbow give beneath his. Can feel the muscles in her wrist spasm with pain. Can feel his heart pounding in his chest. Yes, were you trying to say something?
No.
Okay.
Just an
But the Her flaming hair floats up to meet him, but the sensation isn't one of burning. It's soft. The warm feeling grounds him, and after a time, he's able to gently release her wrist from his hand. It falls to the ground, and the woman cries out again as she sobs. He can hear a string of random curses falling from her mouth as she cradles the arm as best she can, trying not to move it. "Mika!" she sobs. "Mika, wake up!" He turns from the woman, the man that had been behind him, now peeking around the corner of the alley's opening, a phone pressed to his ear. "Kalvin don't need an ambulance."
Oh my god,
With that, With that, he picks up his pipe, still laying on the ground near the first woman. When did he drop it? I forgot.
I don't.
Oh,
Usually
to pick up the woman.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
yeah.
Catch her.
Yep. And walks out of the alley. He feels dumb as he brushes past the man, listening to the sobs of the fiery woman like one would dull elevator music. He can hear it, and if his rabbiting heart is anything to go by, his body's reacting to it. But it's like his mind hasn't quite caught up yet. He stumbles out onto the sidewalk, ignoring the calls from the guy he'd saved to come back. He can already hear sirens in the distance, and if he hadn't been so out of it, he'd have been able to tell that the sound was coming from in front of him. Instead, it's the flashing of lights through the window of a corner store a few minutes later that warns him, leaving him with barely enough time to stagger into an alley. Midoriya stumbles into the wall closest to him, free hand clutching at his chest. Suddenly, it's hard to breathe, and he feels that the ground is swaying beneath him. The alley reeks of garbage, and one of his contacts is bothering him, and his exhaustion is starting to catch up. But he feels like laughing. It bubbles up. Unbind?
Oh no.
Unbind?
Not
You mean like
unbidden.
unbidened?
It's supposed to be
Isn't that
unbidden.
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 Unbind is crazy.
Unbind and unwarranted, and Midoriya feels a bit unhinged in doing so, but he laughs. Laughs until he actually can't breathe, and he's clutching at the stitch in his side and using his staff as a crutch just to keep himself standing. This is insane. This is insane, he gasps out. He wipes at the tears at the corner of his eyes, so quietly laughing as his adrenaline fades. He'd saved another person's life, and though he feels a small pang of guilt when he thinks back to the fiery-haired woman, he feels no regret. He's sure that there were other courses of action that he could have taken that would have resulted in less injuries on her behalf, but he tries not to dwell on it. It was his inexperience in dealing with another's bloodlust that led to the woman's injuries. Is that another apostrophe after injuries?
I don't know. I don't know.
Like I don't even know, because it doesn't match the other one.
It's weird.
And there was only one way to fix that. Experience. Okay. Okay.
Whoa, crazy.
Crazy. There's only one way to
way.
fix an experience.
Oh,
Experience.
yeah.
Do you want to finish off?
Yeah. Once the sirens have faded into the distance, he steps back out onto the sidewalk, rubbing at his irritated eye as he goes. When did he have an irritated eye?
One of his contacts is bugging him.
Oh, okay. I'm zoned out. Rubbing at his irritated eye as he goes. He's more aware now. The haze of adrenaline having burned off, the police lights like early morning. Wait, what? He's more aware now. The haze of adrenaline having burned off. Having burned off by the police lights. Crazy. Having been burned off by the police lights like early morning fog by the sun. It takes him half an hour of wandering to find himself in an area of town he recognizes, and another to make it back to their apartment. And once he arrives, he's somehow able to make it back up to his balcony through his crashing adrenaline high. Midoriya kicks the pipe under his bed, tosses the mask in the trash, tugs his hoodie off, elbow pads and all, and throws it into the back of his closet with the old sneakers he'd worn. He flops face down into the bed, still in sweatpants and knee pads still strapped on, but Izuku can't bring himself to care as the air condition cools the sweaty skin of his back. The bedside clock haunts him with the time, and he falls asleep watching the numbers glow red in the darkness of his room. Wow!
Whoa!
Hey, you're gonna see the color red a lot. Crazy. Crazy. Was it intentional? No. No, it actually was not intentional. Crazy.
Until it was.
Until it was. Not for real. Notes. I want to thank everyone for their support! Exclamation point. I was definitely surprised by all the kudos and comments. Exclamation point. Until next week. Whoa.
Hey dude, I'm really enjoying the amount of depth of emotion you're going into with the tentative foray into vigilantism. Really good job so far, and thrilling work. Thanks for the hard work and thanks for the update.
Thank you for the comments and support. They mean the work to me.
Hey, there's a... Never mind.
Hey, I think you should scroll down the one by Smelly Sugar with the cat screaming. It's further down.
Did he really walk around with a sticky face mask? Those things fall off if you breathe too hard? Wouldn't it be annoying? I still would look a fit though. And then, let's see. Like, 2 hours later said, I'm a fucking idiot. You meant like a medical one, didn't you? Oh my god.
Oh my god. And I responded like 2 hours later, an hour later. Please, this made my day. Thank you for the blessed comment. I love you so much.
And then Smelly Sugar said, oh gosh, this comment is more cursed than anything. It was like 3 when I posted that, and I had to go back from 4 chapters to reply to myself when I realized I was an idiot. And then someone else replied,
There were 4 more chapters after that, thinking it was a white stick.
no, because like, yeah. Going back when you realize, oh fuck. Someone else said, oh my god, I'm dead. The image of Vigilante Izuku in a green mud mask will never leave my mind.
Oh my god. Literally, best comment. Best comment I've ever received on Piper.
She's the author.
And they're my co-host.
And this has been Pied Piper Podcasting.